Welcome to the PWC channel. Once again, for the second time today, we do have a match, and it is the match in Hoenn League between Power Snakes, aka GhirahiM, and Guil, coaching the FC Victini Pilsen. Even though he's a Brazilian guy, not Czech. But yeah. Well, unfortunately, I will have to do this all by myself. No one else was available or willing to commentate with me, so yeah, that's how we're gonna do it. Maybe Reckless wants to join. Ah, he does not have time. That's unfortunate. Well, I'm just gonna do it by myself. Maybe Reckless has time some other time, so we get to experience him on the mic as well. That would be fun, at least for me. And yeah, so there we go with the matchup. We do have Buzzwole, Venusaur Mega, Swampert, Bronzong, Zapdos, and GhirahiM on GhirahiM's side, and then Gil brings his signature, which is Fortress, Florges, Mega Charizard X, Slowbro, Muk Alola, which is like Gil's spirit animal. He has that every season, and Raikou as his last one. So I've just been looking at the matchup, and first things first, Charizard X looks insane as always. So after Dragon Dance and after things like Swampert and Zapdos and maybe Venusaur are a little bit weakened, he just pretty much runs through the entire team of GhirahiM. Especially if you look at it, GhirahiM does not have even a potential Scarfer that could outspeed the Charizard after Dragon Dance. He does not have any priority on the team, so yeah, that's just gonna be tough, honestly. I wouldn't be too surprised if he was just heat-proof Bronzong, just because it's that big of an issue. But then on the other side, Gil told me earlier today that he was fearing the Buzzwole on the opponent's side, just because his go-to physical wall, being Slowbro, is weak to the bug move, and yeah, that's just an issue. So that's why I assume he brought the Florges, and that's why I also assume the Florges is likely to be somewhat physically defensive, at least. And Gil wants me to know when I'm good, and I'm good. Scrambling. Yeah, that's what I do. I like to talk to myself. And yeah, so the Raikou on Guild's side, I was looking at the matchup. I don't really see it that much. GhirahiM has a lot of good answers to it. Obviously, you have to see what kind of set it is, but the GhirahiM, the Swampert, Venusaur, they all deal pretty well with Raikou, so a lot of conditions would have to be met for it to become a huge threat to GhirahiM's team. I mean, maybe he has Aura Sphere and extrasensory as coverage to hit at least Venusaur and GhirahiM, but yeah, the Swampert just pretty much remains to be a problem because yeah, Raikou does not get a Grass Knot, which is just an issue. And yeah, apart from the Buzzwole being dangerous on GhirahiM's side, just looking at it, the GhirahiM should get at least decently checked by Florges, and maybe even the Slowbro somewhat. And yeah, so GhirahiM's team just isn't that fast. It's more or less bulky offense for the most part. The Buzzwole, yeah, Buzzwole could be an issue, at least to some degree. And there we go. We finally get to see a lead matchup, and Gil pretty much picks gets the worst matchup imaginable here with the Slowbro being up against the Zapdos, and him not having a ground type pretty much means that if GhirahiM has the Volt Switch here, he is very free to click it. Can see which Gil's initial switch in is, and looking at it, yeah, it's a little bit uncomfortable switching into Zapdos. Obviously Raikou can take any hit pretty much, but Raikou does not have recovery apart from the possible leftovers. And yeah, that's just not too comfortable. Florges obviously could also come in, but it it's just a little bit of a momentum trap especially if it has a wish, which it probably has, looking at the fact that Alola and Fortress are also part of the team, which very much appreciate the wish support. So yeah, I guess the Raikou also benefits from that, so maybe it can actually switch into the Zapdos without it being a huge issue. But yeah, one of these guys is thinking for quite some time here. Don't know who it is. Jesus, I hope this is not the pace that this entire battle is gonna be at, because I'm not gonna survive that mentally. Because these teams are both built really, really bulky, and yeah, if they take like 1 minute per turn, this could easily go like 1.5 hours. So yeah, not looking forward to seeing that. But yeah, I would assume that this is skilled thinking here, because he really has a difficult decision to make. For GhirahiM, this is pretty much a Volt Switch 10 out of 10 times, if he has it. If he doesn't, then obviously it's not as simple. If he has Toxic, Toxic might also be a possible play here, because obviously either Florges or Raikou are gonna come in here. Or I guess possibly also the Magalola if it is Assault Vest, which it is 9 out of 10 times with Guil. Then it could also be the switch in, but I would assume either Raikou or Florges would be the first. Oh no, he actually goes into the Magalola, and we see the Volt Switch that we were talking about. And let's see if he has Black Sludge or the Assault Vest. But this took like 16%, which is very little, so I presume this must be Assault Vest, as usual. And yeah, let's see. I mean, Swampert would like to come in here probably. Also Buzzwole would be possible. Venusaur, another possibility, because it does not lose any item. But yeah, the Swampert pretty much forces out the Mug. And can possibly set up Stealth Rocks here, which is exactly what happens. Yeah, these Stealth Rocks are annoying. Ooh, and he reveals to be a Rocky helmet on the Slowbro, which, yeah, that's good valuable chip on the Swampert, possibly for Charizard X later, so he can KO it maybe after a Dragon Dance. And Slowbro clicks Future Sight, and Future Sight, looking at it, is really cool against GhirahiM, because it really forces in the Bronzong as the only resist to Psychic on the team. And yeah, I mean, Bronzong is not something that Guil struggles to deal with. He can always go into Fortress on that, set up hazards of its own, or even spin the rocks away, because GhirahiM does not have a ghost type. So yeah, I like Future Sight. Future Sight is a good trump card here in this battle. But yeah, still this is always gonna mean a Volt Switch. And this time the Florges is the switch of choice. Now we're gonna see the Venusaur enter the battlefield for the first time, which is interesting. Let's see it. And also a little bit uncomfortable for Guil, to be honest, because obviously Magalola can take the dual stab, but I would assume that Venusaur possibly carries the Earth Power as well, and in that case it would just straight up beat Magalola 1-on-1, because obviously it can recover but Mag can't. So yeah, I guess Venusaur, regardless if it has recovery, it always beats the Magalola 1-on-1. Yeah, looking at it, Jesus, Venusaur is a huge issue for Guil. Didn't even notice so far. Didn't even look at it as a threat. But yeah, how does he deal with the Venusaur? Maybe if he has Psychic on Florges? I don't know. We also haven't seen an item on Florges so far, so it might be the anti-poison berry, but yeah, looking at it, this is very uncomfortable to switch into for Guil. So GhirahiM just has all the momentum so far, thanks to his Zapdos, which can always come in on Well, GhirahiM pulls a double switch because he remembered the future side, which is which is good on his part. And Guil took that opportunity to go into his fortress, meaning that he now gets to get off a rapid spin or put up hazards of his own. But then again, one more time we're gonna see the Zapdos, and it is one more time gonna be able to pick up the momentum for free. So I would assume that Gil would do well to Mega Evolve his Charizard X as soon as possible, so that he at least has one more resist to... Alright, he goes into Mach on the Volt Switch. Yeah, GhirahiM just lost all the momentum here. This is a Swampert again. And probably a Volt Switch again. But yeah, Swampert also always means Slowbro, and Slowbro means Future Sight. Means that GhirahiM is forced to go into Bronzong sooner or later again. But yeah, still at this point I would say, with the amount of pressure that GhirahiM is able to put on Gil's team, he is looking to be slightly ahead currently. But nothing decisive so far. Alright, so GhirahiM decides to go into Venusaur instead of Swampert this time. Which makes sense because the Venusaur is just impossible to switch into for Guil, and it also beats the Mach 1-on-1 and doesn't allow for Slowbro to get off a future side. So yeah, that's smart. Guil is forced into the fortress here on Stomping Tantrum instead of Earth Power. Now that's just terrible news. Why would you run Stomping Tantrum over Earth Power if you know the opponent has a fortress as a signature? Well, that just doesn't make sense to me. That's just, in my opinion, a little bit of questionable prep. I mean, we know GhirahiM to be a very good player, so... and he has Volt Switch and doesn't put up hazards. This is... Welp. Yeah, it is what it is, but yeah, at least he now goes into the Swampert. Oh, he sets up spikes. Now this is potentially a little bit of a turning point, maybe. I mean, Zapdos is not going to have any issue getting those hazards off the field. Yeah. Yeah. I think might have been better to take the opportunity on the Swampert. Whenever he can, Gil should go into Slowbro and get off a future side, because that's what really pressures GhirahiM more than anything right now. But yeah, so we have the Zapdos on the field here, and it is gonna click Defog. And it pretty much has to be Defog because nothing else on GhirahiM's team has Defog, and yeah, he's carrying some Staff Rock weak mons with him like Kyurem and Zapdos itself, which, I mean, I guess in theory both of them could run heavy duty boots, but you're still... Alright, he clicks Hurricane instead. Now that's interesting. Pain, says Gil in the chat, talking about the confusion, which I can understand. That might indeed be painful for him, but nothing happened yet. You still have the chance to not hit yourself in confusion if you are a smart and not useless Florges. But yeah, he's gonna have to click Wish here. And he's gonna have to find some way to keep the Florges somewhat healthy, because the other guys on his team really need the Wish support. Hey, and there's Bronzong. Now that confusion is pretty much... That is really, 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 really game changing, because now the Florges can't do its job anymore. It can't heal up anymore. The Bronzong is confirmed to be heat-proof, as I suspected in the beginning, as a measure against the Charizard, but yeah, that's really bad. Really, really bad. Huh. Yep. But, you know, these things happen. That's what Hurricane is basically for. It's never gonna hit, but if it's gonna hit, it's also gonna confuse. So yeah, Power Snakes says unfort in the chat. Oh, and he clicks where Psychic and doesn't appear to have the Steel Morph, or if he has it, he decided not to click it. And that means that he allows the Florges to heal itself back up, possibly if it doesn't hurt himself in confusion again. Oh, but Guil decides to... I think that was a mistake, because now he's giving up his wish support for the rest of the game just to heal up the mug once when it wasn't even that hurt. That's... I don't know how much I agree with that, but it is the choice he made. And obviously it ensures that the wish at least does something and doesn't just dwindle away with the floor just hitting herself in confusion and just dying. So yeah, I guess there's at least that. And now we can see a knockoff by the mug, which is cool in the sense that it forces Venusaur to come in, take some damage from the knockoff, but more importantly also damage from the spike. And so this Venusaur, if it doesn't have, I mean, it's gonna have some form of recovery, right? It's not gonna be 4 attacks. That would just be too silly in my opinion. So if it has something like Leech Seed, it's still gonna beat the Fortress one-on-one. And yeah, so let's see. We see the knockoff. Oh, that does a lot of damage, 27%. That's more than I anticipated it to do. Because obviously it is weakened against Venusaur. And that's not irrelevant, that damage. That might mean that he goes into Fortress. And he reveals to have Synthesis. Well. Alright, no Leech Seed. That's good for the Fortress at least. And he gets to put up another layer of spikes. GhirahiM has not revealed to have Defog last time. So let's see what he does this time. And Guil decides to stay in and let his Fortress get weakened. But he really needs that as a switch into the Venusaur. He doesn't have any other. But yeah, so at this point it kind of looks like the Zapdos might be Scarf or choiced in any other way, because GhirahiM doesn't defog first of all, and second of all he just always only clicks one move and then switches out after. So that's always a little bit strange if that happens. And also Volt Switch and Hurricane on a defensive variant. Not really sure. Alright, we see the Buzzwole here on a Volt Switch by the Fortress. Now that's good momentum, because that allows for a future sight to be clicked. Or even possibly the Charizard to Mega Evolve. He definitely shouldn't go into Raikou and allow the Swampert to come in. Putting up Stealth Rocks and pretty much... yeah. I really disagree with him letting the Fortress get weakened. I'm definitely interested to see what his reasoning on that play was. But yeah, I think he should definitely keep an eye out for this Venusaur. Yeah, because the Fortress doesn't have wish support anymore, and now it's not gonna wall anything, being at 33%. Guil is thinking for quite some time here. He has a couple of options. I mean, Florges is not really one of the options anymore, being at 1%. But Charizard would be one, and Slowbro would be the other option, I see. And yeah, also one thing I should mention is, I've been looking at the matchup beforehand, and Guil also has a Rillaboom, and this might possibly be the worst matchup for Rillaboom I've ever seen. I mean, I guess GhirahiM has Swampert, but man, he has many counters to Rillaboom. He has Buzzwole, Venusaur, Bronzong, Zapdos, the Kyurem outspeeds and kills and resists the Grassy Slide, and then he's also got Entei, and I don't even know. There were lots of things. I guess in theory, Rillaboom can always run acrobatics to at least deal with Venusaur and Buzzwole. But yeah, you can't have coverage move to hit everything from Bronzong, Zapdos to Venusaur. Yeah, which is just unfortunate. Also, Drapion is on GhirahiM's team, which would force Rillaboom to run high horsepower to really do anything. So yeah, just a terrible matchup, and not surprising that it didn't get brought. Alright, so Guil indeed decides to switch into the Charizard here, which is a good idea in my opinion. He can now click the fire move pretty much for free to at least get the Mega off. And we see Karakasa entering the chat here, saying he loves to see it. 6-6 after 20 minutes. Bro, you don't even know my pain. I knew this from the start. This two bulky teams like this. This had pain written all over it, this match. But yeah, at least it is somewhat fun because it is more of a chess match a little bit. Two skilled players running bulky teams that are prepped quite well, seemingly, for one another. But yeah, still, I think the Florges being low as it is, and Fortress also being so low that it is unable to deal with anything, is really bad news for GhirahiM because for Guil, I should say, because the Venusaur is becoming ever more annoying. And the Charizard X getting at Mega is definitely something good. And on the positives for Guil, we have to say these two spikes are really valuable, especially if it turns out that GhirahiM does not have a way to get rid of them. I would say Stealth Rocks would potentially be even more valuable if he has them, because those potentially hit the Zapdos, because I have this suspicion that damn it, Guil has Fire Punch over Flare Blitz. Now Guil is such a greedy son of a gun. Why would you run Fire Punch? It's so weak. And this appears to be banded freaking Buzzwole. So basically exactly what Guil was afraid of. Buzzwole being a strong physical attacker and just one-shotting Charizard X, which is really bulky on the physical side. Now that tells you how strong Buzzwole really is. Ah, damn it. Yeah, I guess that is GG. There's no way to say it. Otherwise, I don't see how Guil comes back from that, because the GhirahiM pretty much wins on its own. Mug doesn't have recovery anymore, no wish support, Florges is dead, Fortress is dead, and yeah, now the combination of Venusaur and GhirahiM just wins the game for GhirahiM here. And there's nothing much that Guil can do about it. Yeah, this was just unfortunate. I guess maybe a high roll had the potential to kill Buzzwole there, but didn't happen. And yeah, so Guil paid a heavy price for that. But on the bright side for me, this also means that this game is heavily cut short. So I don't need to talk for another hour. Even though I love commentating these games, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't do it. But sometimes when you're alone and you have no one else to interact with, and you have a match that is long and drawn out, it can be quite painful. I remember last season we had a match which also featured Guil and another one of our dear coaches, our dear leader that doesn't turn up as often as we would all hope to him to, but he's called Jules, and they were facing off last season, and I was also commentating that by myself, and the game ended up going 203 turns. And by the end of it, I was basically just a zombie. Couldn't even talk anymore. I was just sitting there with my mouth open, breathing. And yeah, breathing into the microphone as I like to do. Guys, I really need to get a microphone, by the way. This headset is really annoying. Whenever I try to pronounce a TH, I just make horrible sounds in the mic. It's really annoying. But yeah. Alright, in comes Swampert, which is fine for GhirahiM, as all he really needs to do is pressure this Muk, and GhirahiM just wins. And yeah, so Swampert is a way to do that. Guil decides to sack his Florges instead of just switching into Slowbro, which would have been a way to save a sack, but I don't think it's gonna matter in the long run. GhirahiM doing a good thing here, pressuring Guil back with the hazards, meaning that the hazards on Guil's side aren't gonna be as annoying anymore, because it's somewhat even now. He definitely shouldn't allow to this Florges to wish back up, but he's not gonna do that. Obviously, he's just gonna click flip turn here. And yeah, so that's at least something for him. Swampert is also revealed to be leftovers. Not sure if that was revealed beforehand, but I just noticed now. And yeah, so if this game ends up being a 5-0, I wouldn't be too surprised. Ooh, at least the Florges gets another wish off. I don't know exactly the mechanics of wish, but if that wish is still in the air now that Florges is dead, he should for sure go into Fortress now. If GhirahiM goes into Venusaur now, that's a huge mistake. He should definitely go into Zapdos. 100%, and he does, yeah. Because now he can just Volt Switch on the Fortress and it doesn't get the wish, yeah. That's smart. He couldn't afford to let the Fortress come back. Yeah, so GhirahiM is a good player, definitely. I expect him to make playoffs, in my opinion. He's one, I wouldn't say one of the favorites to win it, but he's definitely someone you have to have on your radar, in my estimation. He's also playing well this game. And I think he, with this win that I assume he's gonna get, he would be 2-1. And that's definitely good for him. Alright, the Muk is back up at full, which GhirahiM is probably sighing, annoyed. It's annoyed now, but yeah, this Venusaur can now stomping tantrum here. Oh, oh my god, this is Sword Stance Venusaur. Let's go. And I think this just wins. Yep, we have a Sword Stance Venusaur sweep coming up because this Stomping Tantrum is gonna kill. And I assume the last move must be Power Whip, which probably OHKO's Slowbro at this point, and that is so hype. That's really nice. GhirahiM, that is, you have my respect, sir. That is a nice sweep for the 5-0. And yeah, Venusaur just was a huge threat from the start. All he really needed was to weaken the Fortress, which he did. Guil allowed him to do that by staying in against the Zapdos Volt Switch at one point. And yeah, so this is gonna be a sweep, Stomping Tantrum, and that's all he really needs. Bye bye. So let's see. Probably, potentially, he reveals the Exosensory here, but I think unless it is Specs, it's definitely not gonna kill. Even though this is an offensive Venusaur, and now that we see the set, it definitely makes sense why it took so much damage from the knockoff by Muk earlier. So it's not gonna be defensively invested. But yeah, I mean, let's say he gets killed by the Exosensory, which he doesn't. Still wouldn't have mattered anyway, I would think. Now he's gonna survive the Shadow Sneak by this Muk as well. And Guil already says, "Welp, GG." Alright, Guil decides to click Poison Jab instead, which makes sense because GhirahiM does have the ability to just Jesus Christ, that word is gonna kill me someday. I'm not gonna pronounce it. You can read it yourself, the grass type recovery move. And yeah, huge GG to GhirahiM. That was a hype set. Sword Stance Venusaur for the sweep here, giving him the 5-0 victory, which the writing was on the wall for quite some time in this game. After some decisions went poorly for Guil, but I think he had a hard time dealing with this thing anyway. And losing Charizard pretty much sealed the deal because that was Guil's win con. And the Bass Wall, with its huge, fat physical defense, was able to lift the Fire Punch and just one-shot it. Alright, GG guys, congrats to GhirahiM, that was a nice win, well played, cool set. And Guil definitely will be back and make a comeback, I'm sure. And guys, I will see you in the next recording.